dedicated isolated outlet at 120 volts. Alternating current can be either 15 or 20 amps. The outlet must be isolated from all other electrical circuits in the building. This signifies it should possess its own dedicated wiring and circuit breaker. The outlet has to be properly grounded. Ideally, the outlet should be situated in an accessible area, like on the wall or ceiling. It should also be clearly labeled as dedicated isolated outlet. In some jurisdictions, dedicated isolated outlets may be required to have an orange color or an orange triangle symbol. However, this isn't universally required. It's best practice to consult your local electrical code to ascertain the specific regulations applicable in your vicinity. Isolation is implemented for several reasons. Firstly, for safety purposes to prevent noise and interference emanating from other electrical devices. Secondly, for performance reasons, ensuring optimal performance of sensitive electronic devices, most notably audio and video equipment. Thirdly, for code compliance, certain medical equipment and appliances may mandate isolated outlets for safety reasons. It is important to have dedicated isolated outlets installed by a qualified electrician to ensure proper functionality and safety. The concept of a dedicated isolated outlet revolves around providing a clean and stable power supply to sensitive electronic equipment, while also adhering to safety standards. Let's delve into a more detailed explanation of these requirements and considerations. Considering voltage and amperage, the standard voltage for a dedicated isolated outlet in North America is typically 120 volts alternating current. The amperage rating can be either 15 amps or 20 amps, depending on the anticipated load. It's crucial to select the appropriate amperage rating based on the equipment that will be connected to the outlet. Using an undersized outlet can lead to overloading and potential fire hazards, while an oversized outlet may not provide adequate protection for sensitive electronics. Delving into isolation, the most critical aspect of a dedicated isolated outlet is its isolation from other electrical circuits in the building. This means that the outlet should have its own dedicated wiring run directly from the electrical panel to the outlet, without any shared connections with other circuits. The dedicated wiring should also include a separate circuit breaker, providing overcurrent protection specifically for the isolated outlet. Isolation minimizes electrical noise and interference that can be generated by other devices in the same circuit, ensuring a clean and stable power supply for sensitive equipment. Grounding is also essential. Proper grounding is crucial for safety and performance. The dedicated isolated outlet must be properly grounded to provide a path for fault current to flow back to the electrical panel, tripping the circuit breaker and preventing electrical shock hazards. The grounding conductor should be connected to the grounding busbar in the electrical panel and to the grounding terminal on the outlet itself. Adequate grounding also helps to reduce electrical noise and interference, improving the performance of sensitive equipment. Speaking of location, accessibility matters. The location of the dedicated isolated outlet should be carefully considered to ensure accessibility and convenience. The outlet should be located in an area where it can be easily accessed for plugging in and unplugging equipment. It should also be positioned away from potential hazards, such as water sources or areas with heavy traffic. Wall-mounted or ceiling-mounted outlets are common choices, providing flexibility in placement and minimizing clutter. Do not forget about labeling. Clear labeling is essential for identifying the dedicated isolated outlet and its purpose. The outlet should be clearly labeled as dedicated isolated outlet to prevent accidental use for other purposes. Labeling helps to ensure that the outlet is only used for its intended purpose, which is to provide a clean and stable power supply for sensitive equipment. Labeling can be achieved using a variety of methods, such as adhesive labels, engraved plates, or permanent markers. Now let us discuss the orange or orange triangle requirement. While not universally mandated, some jurisdictions may require dedicated isolated outlets to have an orange color or an orange triangle symbol. The orange color or orange triangle symbol serves as a visual indicator that the outlet is a dedicated isolated outlet, alerting users to its special purpose. The requirement for an orange color or orange triangle symbol is typically specified in local electrical codes. It's imperative to consult your local electrical code to determine the specific regulations applicable in your area. Now, the reasons for isolation. Safety is the primary concern. Dedicated isolated outlets play a crucial role in ensuring safety, particularly when dealing with sensitive electronic equipment. By isolating the outlet from other electrical circuits, the risk of electrical shock hazards is minimized. Isolation also helps to prevent the spread of electrical noise and interference, which can potentially damage sensitive equipment. In terms of performance, sensitive electronic equipment, such as audio and video equipment, requires a clean and stable power supply to operate optimally. Electrical noise and interference can degrade the performance of this equipment, resulting in distorted audio, flickering video, or other undesirable effects. Dedicated isolated outlets provide a clean and stable power supply, ensuring optimal performance of sensitive electronic equipment. Code compliance is also a factor. Certain medical equipment and appliances may require isolated outlets for safety reasons. These requirements are typically specified in electrical codes and standards. Dedicated isolated outlets help to ensure compliance with these codes and standards, minimizing the risk of electrical hazards and ensuring the safe operation of medical equipment and appliances. The installation of dedicated isolated outlets should always be performed by a qualified electrician. A qualified electrician has the knowledge, skills, and experience necessary to properly install dedicated isolated outlets in accordance with electrical codes and standards. Attempting to install dedicated isolated outlets without proper training can be dangerous and may result in electrical shock hazards or damage to equipment. A qualified electrician can also assess the specific needs of your application and recommend the appropriate voltage, amperage, and location for the dedicated isolated outlets. By adhering to these requirements and considerations, you can ensure the safety and performance of sensitive electronic equipment while also complying with electrical codes and standards. Remember to always consult with a qualified electrician for any electrical work to ensure proper installation and safety. If the local electrical code requires an orange outlet or an orange triangle marking for dedicated isolated outlets, it's essential to comply with this requirement. The orange color or triangle serves as a visual indicator to easily identify these specialized outlets. The specific regulations regarding color or markings can vary, so consulting the local code is crucial. The primary purpose of isolation is to prevent electrical noise and interference from affecting sensitive equipment connected to the outlet. Electrical noise can disrupt the performance of audio, video, and other electronic devices. Dedicated isolated outlets offer a clean power source, ensuring optimal performance. Isolation also provides a safety benefit by reducing the risk of ground loops and electrical shock. Ground loops occur when multiple devices are grounded through different paths, creating a potential difference that can cause hum or noise in audio systems. By isolating the outlet, the risk of ground loops is minimized. A dedicated isolated outlet should have its own dedicated circuit breaker in the electrical panel. This prevents overloading the circuit and ensures that the outlet is protected from overcurrents. The circuit breaker should be sized appropriately for the amperage rating of the outlet and the equipment that will be connected to it. The wiring for a dedicated isolated outlet should be run directly from the electrical panel to the outlet, without any splices or connections to other circuits. This ensures that the outlet is truly isolated and that there is no interference from other devices. The wiring should also be of the appropriate gauge for the amperage rating of the outlet. The outlet itself should be of high quality and designed for isolated applications. It should have a robust construction and provide a secure connection for the equipment that will be connected to it. The outlet should also be properly grounded to ensure safety. When installing a dedicated isolated outlet, it's crucial to follow all applicable electrical codes and regulations. These codes and regulations are designed to ensure safety and prevent electrical hazards. It's also important to obtain any necessary permits before starting the installation. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, it's best to hire a qualified electrician to install the dedicated isolated outlet. An electrician has the knowledge, skills, and experience necessary to perform the installation safely and correctly. It's also a good idea to test the dedicated isolated outlet after it's installed to ensure that it's working properly. This can be done using a multimeter or other electrical testing equipment. By following these guidelines, you can ensure that your dedicated isolated outlet provides a clean, stable, and safe power source for your sensitive equipment. Remember to always consult with a qualified electrician for any electrical work to ensure proper installation and safety. The benefits of using a dedicated isolated outlet include improved performance of sensitive equipment, reduced electrical noise and interference, and increased safety. These outlets are particularly useful for audio and video equipment, medical devices, and other electronic devices that require a clean and stable power source. In addition to the technical requirements, there are also some practical considerations to keep in mind when installing a dedicated isolated outlet. These include the location of the outlet, the type of equipment that will be connected to it, and the overall electrical load in the circuit. The outlet should be located in a convenient and accessible location. It should also be located away from any potential hazards, such as water sources or areas with heavy traffic. The type of equipment that will be connected to the outlet will determine the amperage rating and other specifications of the outlet. The overall electrical load in the circuit should be considered to ensure that the circuit breaker is sized appropriately. By considering these practical factors, you can ensure that the dedicated isolated outlet meets your specific needs and provides a safe and reliable power source for your equipment. Let's consider some additional points about dedicated isolated outlets. Firstly, when we talk about surge protection, it's important to note that a dedicated isolated outlet does not inherently provide surge protection. Surge protection devices should be used in conjunction with dedicated isolated outlets to protect sensitive equipment from voltage spikes. Secondly, the cost of a dedicated isolated outlet installation can vary depending on the complexity of the installation and the cost of materials. However, the benefits of using a dedicated isolated outlet often outweigh the costs, especially when protecting expensive or critical equipment. Thirdly, maintenance of dedicated isolated outlets is generally minimal. However, it's important to periodically inspect the outlet for any signs of damage or wear. If any problems are detected, the outlet should be repaired or replaced by a qualified electrician. It's beneficial to consider the long-term advantages of investing in a dedicated isolated outlet. These advantages extend beyond immediate performance improvements and encompass factors such as equipment longevity and data integrity. By safeguarding sensitive equipment from electrical disturbances, dedicated isolated outlets contribute to extending the lifespan of these devices. This translates into reduced replacement costs and minimized downtime. Additionally, in environments where data integrity is paramount, such as in scientific research or financial institutions, the stable power supply provided by dedicated isolated outlets helps to prevent data corruption or loss due to power fluctuations. This reliability is crucial for maintaining the accuracy and consistency of critical data. When comparing dedicated isolated outlets to standard outlets, the key distinction lies in the level of isolation and noise filtering provided. Standard outlets typically share circuits with other devices, making them susceptible to electrical noise and the interference generated by these devices. Dedicated isolated outlets, on the other hand, offer a dedicated and filtered power pathway, minimizing the impact of external electrical disturbances. This results in a cleaner and more stable power supply, particularly beneficial for sensitive equipment. For instance, in a recording studio, a dedicated isolated outlet can significantly reduce unwanted hum or buzz in audio recordings, leading to higher quality sound production. Similarly, in a medical laboratory, a dedicated isolated outlet can ensure the accurate functioning of sensitive diagnostic equipment, contributing to reliable test results. When selecting a dedicated isolated outlet, consider factors such as the voltage and amperage requirements of the equipment to be connected, the level of isolation and noise filtering provided by the outlet, and the safety certifications of the outlet. It's also important to choose an outlet from a reputable manufacturer to ensure quality and reliability. Furthermore, factor in the specific needs of your application. For example, If you're using the outlet for audio equipment, look for outlets with enhanced noise filtering capabilities. If you're using the outlet in a medical setting, ensure that the outlet meets relevant medical safety standards. Consulting with an electrician or electrical engineer can help you determine the best dedicated isolated outlet for your particular situation. It's also important to ensure that the dedicated isolated outlet is properly grounded. Grounding provides a path for fault current to flow back to the electrical panel, tripping the circuit breaker and preventing electrical shock hazards. The grounding conductor should be connected to the grounding busbar in the electrical panel and to the grounding terminal on the outlet itself. A ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI, is not typically required for a dedicated isolated outlet unless specifically mandated by local electrical codes. A GFCI is designed to protect against electrical shock by detecting ground faults and interrupting the circuit. While GFCIs offer an additional layer of safety, they are not always necessary for dedicated isolated outlets, as the isolation itself provides a significant level of protection. Furthermore, some sensitive equipment may not function properly with GFCIs, as the GFCI can trip unnecessarily due to minor current leakage. However, if the dedicated isolated outlet is located in a damp or wet location, such as a bathroom or kitchen, a GFCI may be required by code. In these cases, it's important to consult with a qualified electrician to determine the best course of action. In summary, dedicated isolated outlets are valuable components for providing clean and stable power to sensitive electronic equipment. By understanding the requirements, reasons for isolation, and installation considerations, you can ensure the proper functioning and safety of your equipment while complying with electrical codes and standards. Always consult with a qualified electrician for any electrical work to ensure proper installation and safety.